it makes sense for us to kind of look at what fireflies are, right? Because it's a very visual experience. Just talking about it uh, doesn't really do justice to the fireflies. So we put together a slideshow, for lack of a better word, to show you some incredible images that are shot by Vipin, so that you get to maybe visually experience what a firefly congregation could look like. And after that, we'll get started with the conversation. And feel free to use the reaction button at the bottom of the tab. So we know if you're liking something, not liking something, if you're in awe, you're mesmerized. So it helps us keep the whole energy going. In terms of what you get to experience in the wild, and to best experience it, it is to be experienced in silence. But now I think since we've gotten a visual representation of what a Firefly congregation could look like, and we've seen it on a visual basis, before we get started, can how many of you have seen fireflies in your lifetime? You can use the chat box or you can use the reaction. Okay, Sachi, yes, Subhajit has seen it. Okay. Out of, I think, 30 participants, some of them have seen it in their childhood. Okay, perfect. Think like a lot of us. Got it. Got it. Got it. So somebody has seen it this year. Okay, perfect. So yeah, I mean, the whole idea of this conversation is to get a broader understanding of what fireflies are and why are they so fascinating to not just children but also to adults, right? And how do we get people to care about fireflies and get them to really understand what it means to be at a congregation of fireflies and why they are important to our ecosystem? And before we get started, I'd like to introduce the panel to you. We've got some amazing panelists and who've done years of work and have experienced fireflies season upon season. So we have Parvez with us, who's a scientist and he's got a PhD in studying fireflies, particularly in India. He's done a lot of work around fireflies. So initially, based on references and based on documentation, we used to tell people that India only has 9 species of fireflies. But because of his work and because of what he's done with his studies, he's realized that there are 93 species and counting of fireflies in India, which is just incredible. So, really happy to have you here, Parvez, and really looking forward to how this conversation goes. And after that, we have Vipin. Vipin is based in Coorg, and he's like I've worked with him, I've interacted with him, just finished a Firefly congregation workshop with him. The passion that he brings to the table, and also the kind of work that he does, right from working with children in schools or working with adults to get people to appreciate nature better. So he's a naturalist and he's also the board member of the Mycelium Conservation Trust. Happy to have you here, Vipin.
Thank you, Alan. Happy to be here.
We have Abhishek, who's been experiencing fireflies from quite some time now, and I think he'll give us a very important understanding of how are they declining, are they like increasing in number, what are the causes that are happening around where he stays. And he runs a beautiful organic farm where I'm always jealous that I want to be in his farm. But I think it's all about living in the land and for hearing stories from people who experience it year on year and to really get to understand what these fireflies mean to the locals and also to the people around them. So happy to have you here, Abhishek.
Hi, hi. Very happy to be here.
We get started. I think I'll ask Parvez because he's the scientist in the room. So tell me, Parvez, like what are fireflies?
So thank you so much, Gavin and the team. Parvez, and I'm doing my PhD on fireflies. Like what fireflies are, like people are like curious about fireflies. And the most important thing we all have that fireflies are not like other insects. Other insects, we even don't know the names. They're journal or scientific. But fireflies are those insects which are very much connected with us, either from the childhood or somewhere in between our raining season or something, somewhere. So they are very much connected with us because of their charismatic light emitting properties.
Hmm.
So fireflies are beetles. If we are talking about scientifically, they're beetles but not fireflies. Sometimes because of their name is fireflies, sometimes people used to confuse with either they are bugs or flies, but they are beetles. So generally, beetles are those that in the insect order they can be characterized as that hard elytra. Elytra means their forewings. So, but how within the Coleoptera beetles, because they are beetles, how they can be distinguished from others? Because fireflies are not alone insect who used to emit firefly lights.
Hmm.
There are some other sister families like Phangodidae or like Rhegopithecominidae. They also glow at some
Hmm.
stages. But
Hmm.
as a majority, fireflies are being like known for producing light.
Why do they why do they glow? I mean, what is the requirement for them to be glowing? Why are they wasting their energy, which they could have used elsewhere? What is the need for them to glow?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Gagan. From what I have read, the glow or the light started in their pupal stage, right? So basically, they wanted a mechanism to deter predators when they are still a larva and roaming around the jungle floor. So the light initially was for that purpose, but eventually evolution, resulted in even adults using the lights, and right now it has reached a point where the adults are actually using them for sexual communication and courtship displays, right? So the light is a firefly's way of getting to meet its the partner to basically impress a female and find a female and communicate to other females, compete against other males, and all that processes. So yeah.
Because we've seen fireflies and we've read about them in fairy tale stories and all of these videos that we keep seeing. Can you talk about fireflies, particularly in India, and how they are spread across the species and where usually is the congregation that happens? Anything around that, if you can help us understand?
Yeah, fireflies are like, first we will understand very basic, like they are two types. One who can produce light and others who do not. Okay, so there are some fireflies within India and across the world as well. They are fireflies, those called as diurnal fireflies. They active during the daytime, and their communication are based upon pheromones. Okay, so but their numbers are limited. So that's why we know them because the majority of them are producing light. So we used to call them the majority of fireflies are emitting light. Scenario like there are 2,600 fireflies world over described so far in 12 subfamilies. Okay, coming to India, we have so far described based upon the literature, but there are maybe many more. Like some other areas which could not be explored, like Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh. We know because of our friends and nowadays like social media and all, people used to share the pictures. We know fireflies are there, but in the literature they are not. So there are 92 species, and recent advancement of one or two more species very in the recent months make it like 93 or 94 species so far in India, representing four different subfamilies, in which
Hmm.
like Lucellini is the dominant family, followed by Odontocyrtini, Lampirini, and then Rini and Psilocylidini. But still, like there are some fireflies which are in flux. Like we have not decided in which order or in which, I mean, not order, in which subfamily it will go.
Yeah, yeah. So I think for a lot of the urban folks and for a lot of non-researchers, right? Like usually like a firefly is a firefly. Anything that glows and emits light is a firefly, right? So that's usually how we consider what a firefly is to an urban audience, right? But I think just going back a few years ago or just going back to what were your first memories of being around fireflies? And I would like to ask this to Abhishek. Um, how did it feel when you first experienced them?
Well, I remember seeing them in my childhood days, but I think not really sort of very clear memories of them. But in the last sort of 8 years that we've been living in close to Madikeri, I remember the first night, when we came to actually see this land, when we were getting ready to buy this land. We got late driving, getting here, and we drove in at about 9, 9:30. And yeah, I think that night has not sort of left me. It'll never leave. Just to drive through, yeah, I wouldn't even say a forested patch, but a wild sort of coffee patch with lots of trees. And it almost felt like you're driving through a little tunnel that is just lit up, all around you. Sort of, yeah, it leaves a sort of magical. It sort of makes you start believing in fairy tales. And yeah, I think I remember this feeling that in this day and age, when so much is gone, we have lost so much. Somehow there is still little magic left in pockets. And so yeah, I remember being filled with hope that there is still some hope in this sort of deteriorating landscape and world.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the first experience just stays with you, and I think it for me as well. The experience, the first time that I saw it, it just etched in my memory. So I think this Bipin, I'd like to ask you this in terms of how we have different stages of life for, like say, butterflies, right, as insects. Can you help us understand the what are the different stages of a firefly?
So, like Parvez mentioned, fireflies are beetles, right? They're not really flies. So, all the beetles have four major life stages. They start out as eggs, and then larva comes out of the egg. The larva is the usually the longest life stage for a firefly. So, eggs incubate and they hatch in say 2 to 4 weeks. Then the larva comes out. It will be under the soil, in the leaf litter, on the soil, eating voraciously on soft-bodied invertebrates and living its larval life form for 1 to 2 years, right? And once the larva has grown enough, it will undergo the process of pupation, and that is the third stage. And the pupation process also might last for 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the species. So during the pupation process, just like how a caterpillar turns into a butterfly, right? Inside the pupa, the larva of the firefly turns into an adult form and comes out as a winged winged beetle basically. So four life stages: eggs, larva, pupa, and the flying or the adult beetle form. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. And in terms of habitat, right? Because we don't see them everywhere. Like, is there a particular requirement for them kind of congregate or even exist in the first place? Does it only happen, say, in the Western Ghats, or do they happen in different pockets which we are not aware of? So what's the perfect habitat for a firefly?
That's an interesting question, and there's no easy answer actually. Fireflies are found throughout the world, except maybe the North Pole and the South Pole. And there's no, again, simple answer about what kind of habitats they prefer because different species prefer different habitats. There are species which love the wetlands. There are species which love the forest. There are species which live in, say, high elevation grasslands. And I think I remember reading about fireflies found in the desert ecosystem also. So yeah, there are many species and they all have their different niche habitat preferences. But the fireflies we see in our region, in Kodagu and all along the Western Ghats, at least the congregating species and the synchronizing species, they all like to stick around forests, mid elevation forests, not high elevation, but mid elevation forests, somewhere close to a wetland or a marshland area. Not, and we generally don't see fireflies in grasslands, at least the ones which are found in huge numbers, right? So the peak congregation here happens somewhere in April, and all those fireflies typically prefer forest fringes, coffee plantations as well, wherever the biodiversity is still intact, wherever the tree canopy is still intact, wherever there are native trees. So generally speaking, they seem to love a landscape which is well wooded, which is where the soil is moist and healthy and crawling with invertebrates, a lot of soft-bodied invertebrates like snails, earthworms, leeches, whatnot. So yeah, and from my experience, if you go 10 kilometers away from the Western Ghats mountain range, the chain of hills, then you start seeing less and less fireflies. So they are very close to the Western Ghats hill ranges on either side, and yeah, they are usually found at the base or all the way to the high elevation, mid elevation forests.
Got it.
Yeah.
And in terms of seasonality, see, because even right now on social media, you're seeing a lot of images that are coming in from the Annamalai range or some parts of Maharashtra and Coorg and all of that. So, is there a seasonality to it, or are they there through the year, but we're just observing them just before the monsoon?
I think again, depending on the species, they all have different peak seasons, right? Breeding seasons, for example. The firefly which we see in April in Cook, the ones which you see in their millions, right? They prefer to come out as adults in April, uh, participate in the whole courtship, display, mating, and courting and mating ritual, and then they lay the eggs and they all die off, right? So by the end of May, we see very few adults remaining or flying around. There will be few. There are exceptions always. Also, there could be other species, flying around which we don't really know about. So by now, right now, I think the eggs are either hatching or they are about to hatch from the last congregation. And once the larva hatches now, it'll just go on its business, do seek snails, slugs, and all the other insects, and they carry on for the next 1 or 2 years. And these guys will emerge as adults 2 years down the line, maybe 1 year down the line, and they will be ready to dazzle us with their spectacle next year or maybe 2 years later. Yeah.
Correct. So I think a lot of what we see on the internet, at least pertaining to India, is from the Western Ghats, right? So Parvez, like if you can help us understand what other parts of India where we can see these congregations happen. And I haven't really heard about anything from the Northeast because I feel they have similar kind of forests there. But any species that is coming out of there or any other part of India?
Yes, definitely. There are so many places like fireflies are present throughout the country, and some species are endemic, like to the particular regions. Like some are from Western Ghat only, some are present only in the Eastern Ghats, like this Andhra, Tamil Nadu, and this Telangana region. And if we talk about North India, we have different species. Firefly are sensitive and they do pose like they are very sensitive towards their environment. If any imbalance occurs in their surrounding, they will immediately react. And that's why we call them as the indicator of ecosystem health. So fireflies are everywhere. Only thing is like even in the forest, whenever you used to go in the forest in Western Ghat or Eastern Ghat, if you spend some time in anywhere nearby a lake or a stream, you will see one or two fireflies. Doesn't matter what season you are entering into the forest. But as Vipin said, they do have a congregation time. We have in India there are a lot of congregation sites in India everywhere, like even in the Trans Himalayas, Northeast India, and this Eastern Himalayas, sorry, Eastern India and Western Ghats. So we have all the sites, but they are yet to explore. We used to get calls because we have created a network of researchers. They do send images for identifications. So that's why we know like what are the areas fireflies are blinking or emerging.
Hmm. Hmm.
So they're everywhere and throughout that year.
Okay. So when we talk about India as a country, why should people in India be excited about fireflies, and why are they important in India? Like, because I've heard that they're there in multiple countries around the world, but anything which is exciting about India, and maybe talk a little bit about your work and how that ties back into the country's population of fireflies.
Yeah, like as we are like as Indians, not only in India but in other neighboring countries, they are also celebrating like more than us because there the researcher and awareness is already popular for fireflies. We are yet to do so, and like fireflies are popular for their aesthetic, and people are uh, believing that they are the like indicator of rains in the forest. While talking to the Karnataka tribal people and Tamil Nadu and Kerala, people used to often say, yeah, they are the indicator of rain, early rain or late rains. So whenever the rains comes, they will be there. So they are the indicator. And coming to the nature and relevance to the public, and people have aesthetic values. And in Nagaland, in Manipur, people have different stories with fireflies. In Assam, they have in tribal population, they have a belief like fireflies can be used for medical cure, right? So it was their belief. Even in like if we are talking about like something like very very early in India about there's a called Magadha. Magadha. There's a Sanskrit slok or not slok, a book. I don't know exactly, but that name is Uttar Magadha. And in that, fireflies are used as a aesthetic beetles, and it is we are talking about somewhere in like 2000 year before, right? So fireflies are from our beginnings and they're everywhere, even in the literature, even in the like our religious literature, not in India alone but our neighboring countries like Malaysia, Thailand, and they are celebrating like anything.
Understood. Okay. Okay. Vipin, I just maybe wanted to touch upon the whole experience side of things with fireflies. What kind of behavior do you usually observe when you go and look at these fireflies during the congregation? And anything which sticks from your memory or something that stays with you? Would you like to maybe talk about that?
Yeah, it's interesting, we get a lot of people coming to Cook to see fireflies. So when they land here, when they reach the location or venue, they don't see anything, right? They generally reach us in the morning and they don't see anything. There are no fireflies around. But once the sun sets and once the darkness sets in, you'll slowly start seeing one blinking light here, one blinking light there. Slowly you'll see the numbers increase gradually. And by the time it is around 7:30 and it is fully dark, you can see the entire landscape being lit up. right? So where were they hiding during the daytime is a question we get asked a lot. In the night we see them in the millions, but what are they doing in the day? Where are they hiding? Right. So that's an interesting observation and interesting questions which people always ask. It's nice to reveal this mystery to them also while we are in the field, just to show them where they sleep during the day, how they sleep under the leaf and all that. So yeah, so what I've noticed is they are totally absent, out of sight during the day, and just during sunset we start seeing few of them, and by night by 8:30 or 9 they're already hitting their peak activity. Right, the activity goes on till midnight. The amazing display of lights, synchronization, all that will be going on throughout the night. But by around 11:30, 12, or midnight, we start seeing a gradual, slow decrease in their activity. You start seeing more and more fireflies flying and not displaying. They're just flying. Some are flying from the canopies back to the ground. Maybe they're too exhausted. They want to rest, and you'll also start seeing few breeding pairs here and there on the ground. You will also see predators like spiders, right? Making a meal of them. Beetles, some predatory beetles making a meal of them. Huntsmen, harvestmen, the daddy long legs feeding on the extravagant buffet and all that. And if you stick with it and if you spend some more time, you'll notice that till 5:30 in the morning, they're all active, but the numbers, the activity has come down drastically. And by the time the sun is up, by the time it is 6:15, the fireflies are all off again. They're all just hidden wherever they were. So it's an interesting cycle that repeats every day for maybe 3 to 4 weeks in a year, somewhere in April, May, depending on the temperature, rainfall, and all that. But yeah, it's a nice routine to follow and follow as a exercise for us also during the congregation period.
Hmm. And we keep talking about synchronization and seeing these Firefly videos where you see all of these come up and go off. So why do they synchronize and what's the need for them to synchronize?
From my experience, the species which synchronizes in April, right? We generally call it the forest firefly because they love the forested landscapes. So if you see them from a wider perspective, if you deeply observe their synchronization, you will notice that they're not flashing their lights spontaneously, simultaneously, right? There's a microsecond delay between one firefly to the next. So the research also says that they are trying to just copy what the neighboring males are doing. If a male is blinking or flashing the light on your left, you start flashing your light, and seeing you, your neighboring male will start flashing the light, and that is how you see the traveling Mexican wave in a large landscape. Where the fireflies are everywhere. So they synchronize mainly, I think, to compete against each other, and that actually might be enabling the female to look at them together in one shot and judge who is the better male to mate with, right? Or it could be competition, or it could be just to make the female's lives easier. If every firefly is blinking and flashing whenever it wants, wherever it wants, the female can't really identify if he's the right species, right? The whole purpose will be lost. So if he's syncing with one particular species, and if his flashing pattern, interval, duration, flight pattern, and all that is matching, then the female will know, okay, this is the right male, he's my species, right? And the female might decide to respond back to a male's flashing. So the whole synchronization is competition between males, also trying to woo the female simultaneously, and making the female's life easier also by, choosing the same habitat, same timing, same interval of flashes, and same seasonality, between the species. So yeah.
Hmm. And how does the female signal back saying that she's interested in a particular way? And how does, out of a million fireflies, she chooses the right one? And how does the male maybe know that she's signaling back at me? So that's just mind-boggling to even comprehend. So how does that
Yeah.
happen?
So there are many theories about that, but what I have noticed in the field is around when the firefly congregation season starts, right? During the initial season, say the first week or first 10 days, 12 days, you won't see many breeding pairs because they're all busy just competing against each other and trying to impress the females. But when the congregation season is at its mid phase, or maybe on the second week, you will slowly and gradually start seeing breeding pairs, males and female. The male is on the female, or male and female are conjoined together, and they are crawling on the ground. So once I just wanted to stick with one female, okay, and wanted to see how this happens, and the observation did not go anywhere because the female took off. But one random night, I saw that there was this particularly strange looking firefly with an extended abdomen. Like the abdomen is protruding out of the elytra, the hard wing casing, right? And she was trying to twist the abdomen upwards and flash at the sky, flash her light at the sky. And then eventually, and just like that, a male which was flying close randomly landed very close to the female, and within no time, within next 20-30 seconds, they mated, right? So that is when it was clear to me that the females actively respond back to a male. Do they respond back to a particular male, or do they respond back in general, and some male tries to examine that source of light from the female? We don't know, but female responds when she finds the right male, or when maybe the male is very close to her, and then the male receives that response, and then he flies closer and closer to the female, and eventually lands right next to her, and then they start the mating process. So yeah, it's an active flashing from the male and an active response from the female, which eventually makes them meet each other.